Hello, the world. This is They Will Kill, a true crime podcast. I'm Sadie Eck.
And I'm Courtney Eck.
And we are sisters. It's Courtney's night.
Yep.
And she's going to tell us a probably pretty awful tale.
Yeah. Is everybody ready to get super angry?
Yay!
Woo! This story is so infuriating. If you're here to get sad and also furious, then you've come to the right place, because this is the deeply disturbing disappearance of Celina Mays. Before I start, I want to give a heap of credit to Noor Jasmine on YouTube, who I had a hell of a time finding the archival articles. Good God. The archival articles on this one. I did eventually find them, but I relied heavily on her to get me started. So shout out to her. She's also adorable. She wears a aluminum hat, like to keep the aliens away.
Yes. We should start doing that for our YouTube videos.
I was like, I might have to steal that from you. But yeah, she's adorable. So highly recommend checking out her channel if you like true crime and weird stuff. So Celina Mays was born on May 5th, 1984 to C.J. Mays and Lynn Marie Vitale, and was described as a, quote, frail infant. Celina's mother and father never legally married and were separated by 1990, and it's reported that C.J. and Lynn had a, quote, tumultuous relationship with, quote, some instances of domestic violence. C.J. was an aspiring musician and admits to having had drug and alcohol issues, which he managed to get on top of once he and Lynn split up. Lynn was an exotic dancer and drug addict when Celina was born. She was also able to get clean after she split from C.J. and got a job as a custodian in a school in New Jersey. C.J. moved in with his sister, Reverend Sarita Smith, and joined the church she was the head of, the Gospel of Christ Ministries. C.J. credits the church with helping him get sober and get on top of his life after he split up with Celina's mother.
What year is this? I'm sorry.
This is, no problem, 1994 is
okay.
Kind of where we are. Sarita, quote, ruled with an iron fist, and Celina's mother felt like C.J. was becoming radicalized by the strict teachings of the Gospel of Christ Ministries. Quote, current members of the Gospels of Christ say it's a Bible-based church that brings new life to people at the end of their rope. Former members call it a cult-like commune run by a minister with an iron will.
That's not good at all.
Yeah, it's one of those, guys. It's one of those.
Oh.
Lynn was so disturbed by CJ's new religious obsession that she started to refuse to let Celina visit her father, afraid of what he and Sarita were exposing her to.
So quick. Like, he jumps in and
Yep.
all of a sudden people are afraid of him.
Right down the rabbit hole. Yeah,
Aye.
of just being like a religious zealot. Lynn had also turned to religion when she'd started to work to get sober, but felt like Sarita and CJ's views were too extreme for her daughter to be around. So she wasn't not Christian. She was like, you guys are way too Christian.
Yeah.
Religious extremism aside, things seemed to be going much better for the family, and Celina and her mother were extremely close. Very tragically, though, Lynn died of a brain aneurysm in 1994, and so is no longer around to protect her daughter.
Oh, no. No.
Yeah, man. Yep.
Oh, no. Why?
I know. This case. Just strap in, guys. It gets progressively worse. Lynn had a $50,000 life insurance policy, and when Celina's father tried to get custody of her after her mother passed, Lynn's side of the family suspected that they only wanted her to have access to her inheritance. They only wanted to have access to her inheritance. CJ was granted custody of Celina, and so she was sent to live with her father and aunt and 13 other random religious zealots who they shared their home with.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No. How old is Celina?
She's 11.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a better age in my mind. 11 sounds terrible.
If she were 7, this would all be fine. No, it's not good.
No.
There were a total of 15 people living in the home that Celina was relocated to after her mother's death. Quote, the residents included May's wife, Yvette. So CJ had remarried at this time. So it was her, Celina's stepmother. His stepson, Enrique Tharps, who was 18. Sarita Smith and her husband, and the Smiths' 5 children, who included 2 teenage sons and a 23-year-old son, Sean, who had 3 children of his own, 1 by his wife and 2 by previous partners. All were members of the church in Mount Holly. The children were schooled there, and most of the adults, including Mays and his wife, worked there. So Celina was also homeschooled. So on Sunday, December 15th, 1996, Celina was 12 years old and went to church with her family, then enjoyed some ice cream together once they got home. Around 11 p.m., Celina kissed her family goodnight and went to bed. According to her father and stepmother, she said, quote, "Thank you for everything," before heading up to bed. The next morning, the family sent Celina's 4-year-old sister upstairs to wake her, and she reported back that Celina wasn't in bed. Her father checked her bedroom and found that her sheets and pillows had been arranged to make it look like she was still sleeping in bed, but she was nowhere to be found. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that 12-year-old Celina was 9 months pregnant when she disappeared.
No.
And her due date was just 2 weeks away.
Oh, Courtney.
It gets so much worse, Sadie. You think that's the worst part? It gets so much worse.
No.
Yes. This poor, sweet baby child had gotten pregnant when she was just 11 years old, 1 year after her mother died, and she was relocated to live with her father and the rest of the church members.
No.
Because of their strict religious views, Celina was forbidden to have an abortion, so she was carrying the baby to term.
And you didn't just say who the dad was?
No.
Okay. I was like, did I just black out from my upsetness?
From your fury?
Yes.
Nope. By all accounts, she was excited for the baby, attended all of her prenatal appointments, and took her prenatal vitamins religiously. She was also scheduled to have a C-section on December 29th because she was physically too small to deliver the baby naturally. Yes. Celina's family checked her room and found that she'd left behind her purse, her prenatal vitamins, and her beloved Walkman, which she took everywhere with her. As far as anyone could tell, Celina vanished with just the clothes on her back. For whatever reason, the family waited a full 24 hours to call 911 to report that their 12-year-old, very pregnant relative had gone missing. They finally did so a full day after they realized she was gone.
It's good. This sounds like a good thing to do for her.
Yeah, this sounds like they are
F.
deeply concerned about a very pregnant, medically fragile, because she's 12 and pregnant, missing person.
What is happening?
Dude. Based on the way her room was left, with her pillows having been arranged to look like she was still in bed, police initially treated her case as a missing persons. Police officers were like, yep, that's definitely the work of a 12-year-old. No adult could have arranged those pillows in that fashion. Case closed.
Every 9-month pregnant 12-year-old wants to run away.
Yeah, that's what happens. You can barely move, and you aren't going to physically be able to birth your child naturally, and you know that, so you're probably going to go on the run.
And you're not old enough to even drive.
Correct.
So you gotta walk.
Correct. Take a bus. And you know what? High alerts people, pregnant 12-year-olds. They assumed that she would show up before Christmas or her due date and told the family to keep them posted.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they're like, Christmas is coming up. She'll be back for her presents. Just let us know when she gets here.
What?
Yeah. Yep. Didn't investigate the anyway.
And we're in New Jersey?
We're in New Jersey.
Oh, I hate New Jersey. Just kidding.
When Celina didn't come back for Christmas and her due date was drawing closer, it was like 4 days away from her due date. The police finally decided there might be something amiss and released her disappearance to the public.
Well,
Yeah. They're like, let's let it get to like full emergency status before we act on this at all.
I'm speechless.
I know, completely. It's confounding. After her disappearance was announced, both sides of her family started feuding with each other, blaming each other for her disappearance and accusing the other side of hiding her or worse.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah. Let's just blame each other rather than figure out where the fuck our daughter is, our 12-year-old pregnant daughter. The two families had never gotten along, and when Celina's mother died 2 years before she disappeared, members of her mother's family had fought her father for custody, and ultimately the father won full custody. After Celina went missing, her father's side of the family began accusing her mother's side of kidnapping or aiding her getaway to keep her from the paternal side.
I mean, I couldn't blame them.
No.
If they did that.
Right, but I doubt that they would wait until she was 2 weeks from her due date to do so. That is not good timing. Her father told the media, quote, "Celina had planned this. She had a desire to leave." So police grew especially concerned because they didn't get any tips about an extremely pregnant child being spotted in the area. And she would have certainly been spotted had she been anywhere in public while she was still pregnant. A former member of the congregation said that Celina's family probably wouldn't have let her go out into public regardless, but certainly wouldn't have let her go out when she was visibly pregnant. Quote, "They want to shut you off from all outside communication." He also said that, quote, "Sarita Smith rules the church with absolute control and where the congregation of 20 to 30 functions as one family." He and his wife also had lived in Sarita's house at one point and said, quote, "The pastor determines every detail of her congregants' lives, from whom they should marry to what bills they should pay." He went on to say, quote, "Nothing is operated in their household without her consent. She has a controlling spirit that's unreal. The littlest thing you can think of, she controls. It was a happy-go-lucky place until you were disobedient. As long as you were doing what she wanted you to do, it was fine. That is how they trap you."
Wow. That's terrifying.
I know. And this poor little baby loses her mom, and this is the chaos she gets thrown into. The same member had gone to the home of the congregation a year before Celina had gone missing and tried to convince his family members, who were still members of the church, to leave, but claims they were too brainwashed to go. Sarita called the police on him for trespassing.
Wow.
So the congregation's neighbors also started complaining to police about them, saying, quote, "They were really belligerent. They got really loud. They would not listen to any requests to quiet down. It was primal screaming, pure guttural."
What?
I don't know what they were doing over there. I don't know if they were just like worshiping real hard, but it became a problem. The neighbor also...
I'm sorry, no, we're not past this yet.
You're not used to primal screaming church?
I mean, growing up, we went to some pretty wild churches.
Yeah,
lots
we
of
went
like
to some
speaking in
Pentecostal
tongues
stuff. Yeah.
I can't... Well, I mean, the speaking in tongues church got pretty guttural.
I was going to say, Sadie, yeah, they get pretty
come
wild.
to think of it.
But once you get the Holy Spirit, you got to let it out.
Speaking of blacking things out.
Yeah.
That's something I've set aside in my mind. No, okay, I can.
You're like,
see
they don't
that.
do that. Oh, yeah, wait, yeah, they 100%
If I
do.
put that church in a house with neighbors,
yeah,
I would be calling the police on them.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
like turn it up to 12 in the cult status. Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
and you know the cult leaders like give it more to Jesus or whatever, and they were getting real wild. Yeah. Ugh.
Well, she also, the neighbor also said that, quote, Sarita Smith got onto an amplified microphone and shouted, quote, "Mount Holly, this is war. I will fight you all."
No.
So she wasn't trying to be a polite, godly neighbor. She really wanted to rile everybody up with Jesus.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. I don't know if I would be amused or frustrated, or probably a combination. It would probably go back
the neighbor,
and forth. Yeah.
You would be furious. It would be funny if you like were at a weird Airbnb and that happened once. Maybe.
Yes, good point.
If you had to live next to it.
Especially if there are children present. That, yeah. If it was just a bunch of adults like growling and stuff, I might be kind of consistently amused. I don't know. I'm knock wood. Please, I hope a religious cult doesn't move in next door. But as far as bad neighbors go, at least that would be a little bit amusing. I don't know.
One of our neighbors, when I lived in Portland in my 20s, we'd have parties like you do.
Yeah.
And the poor thing, she came over to tell us to shut up. And it was late and we were drunk. And I saw her coming up the sidewalk and I was like, "Oh, hey, I had a handful of beers." I was like, "Do you want a beer?" And she was like, "No, I want you to shut up." Her poor kids were trying to sleep. And oh God, my mom, like now that I'm a mom, I just can't imagine.
No. So many times.
And we shut up and brought everybody inside. I felt so bad. But anyway, so imagine that times guttural screams and cults and amplifiers and
yeah. Dear anybody who is trying to parent in Portland in the mid-2000s.
No, I'm so
we
sorry.
all apologize. That was not the place for you all to try to parent successfully and get any kind of sleep, because it was
chaos.
party time. Yep. So another resident said she met Sarita outside the Mount Holly courthouse. The woman was there supporting her sister, who had just lost custody of her 2 children, and Sarita approached her and asked if she wanted to come live with them. The woman agreed to live with the congregation, but eventually, quote, became disillusioned with the way the church raised and spent money and the control the pastor tried to exercise over everyone, including the women's children, when they came to visit. She said that she was sent to sell pretzels outside of supermarkets to raise money for the congregation, but wasn't allowed to keep any of the money and, quote, did not see the proceeds of those sales reflected in the lifestyle she was afforded. They also supported the church by selling Mary Kay and asking for donations at the mall.
Wow.
Yeah. So Sarita and CJ were adamant that Celina had run away from home. CJ said that Celina refused to reveal who the baby's father was, and so he had threatened to make her take a paternity test to determine who had impregnated her. He said that she was scared for him to find out, and so had run away to avoid this happening. Celina's OBGYN claimed that CJ asked her, meaning the doctor, to help him find out who the baby's father was. The doctor inquired about who the father was and claimed that Celina said it was a, quote, 16-year-old boy from another church, but people were not buying it.
No.
Naturally, rumors started swirling about who would have had access to a very sheltered and controlled child who was rarely, if ever, allowed to leave her church community. And of course, CJ's name started coming up in rumor circles. The rumors grew so big that CJ told police that it was impossible because he'd gotten a vasectomy 2 years before, and police requested that he bring in medical records to prove this claim.
Good. I was going to start shouting, "Prove it!" Glad the police agreed.
Yes. And one article reported that CJ's doctor was able to confirm that this was true. So Celina's half-brother, Bob Benaglio, said that he tried to speak with her before she disappeared, and she said she couldn't talk at the time because her father was telling her she had to get off the phone. Quote, Benaglio said he told Celina to give him a sign she was unhappy living with her father by pushing a button on the telephone. He said his heart broke when he heard a beep.
Oh.
I know. Police also looked into the possibility that the baby's father was actually a 16-year-old boy from another church and asked when she could have had access to other kids or teenagers that weren't from her church. CJ claimed she sometimes went on outings like roller skating or bowling and, quote, we're not the closed group that we've been portrayed. We have liberty just like anyone else.
I don't believe it.
This seems unlikely based on the accounts of the church's extreme control, as even if she was allowed to go out at 11 years old, it seems extremely unlikely that she would have been able to sneak away and get pregnant at some point.
No.
So other rumors revolved heavily around Celina's 21-year-old cousin, Sean Smith. Sean was Sarita's son and lived in the home with Celina and all of the other congregation members, and people became very convinced that Sean had something to do with her pregnancy and disappearance. Once those rumors got back to Sarita and her congregation, Sarita took to her pulpit to preach that Celina, get ready to get mad for a while, you guys, quote, deceived her family about her pregnancy, never revealed the father's identity, and tricked the family again by disappearing in the middle of the night. Quote, she lied all along, she said. I can't watch anyone 24/7. Only God can do that, and I'm not going to play God. She went on to say that, quote, Celina made a choice to flee, just as she made the choice to engage in the activity that led her to becoming pregnant. Had she been forced into it, Celina would not have hidden her pregnancy for 4 months as she did. Quote, the Bible says you cry out our word. The Bible says you cry out molestation. She said that she didn't think it was out of the ordinary that Celina refused to reveal her child's father, as women make that choice all of the time. Quote, she says she also made clear that she considers Celina as much a woman as a child. Quote, 12 years old is but a number. Some 12-year-olds make you think that they're 18 years old. During her service, she also said, quote, I have no fear what God has chosen. I have no fear where Celina is. I'm not asking the Lord to quickly do anything. What? And if you're not already mad enough.
No.
She also claimed she had a, quote, inkling something wasn't right 2 days before Celina disappeared and said, quote, I knew she was up to something. I warned her that you lied all throughout this pregnancy. This is an evil and perverse generation. Yes, Sadie, yes. When people started suspecting her son, she just got in the car and fucking put her pedal to the metal and just attacked this little tiny baby child. Attacked her. No matter the reason that an 11-year-old got pregnant. Like, what is happening? What is happening that you blame an 11-year-old child? Like, if an 11-year-old child willingly consents to an activity that allows them to get pregnant, there is always a problem. Always.
Yes, 100%.
Always a serious, serious problem.
She is a child. Period.
She's a child.
That is the end of that.
Yes.
That is that. That is...
Nothing more needs to be said.
Who just lost her mother.
Yes.
Who's vulnerable and controlled.
And missing. She is missing.
Yeah.
So on February 15th, 1997, police announced that they felt pretty positive that Celina was alive and well and was, quote, being kept somewhere.
Why do they think that?
Well, Sadie.
Oh, God.
Celina's father also said, quote, I think she's fine. She's strong and independent-minded. I just wish she'd give us a call. That's the gut-wrenching part. I want my daughter to be happy. I would love for her to want to come back and be a family. But if Celina is big and grown, I'm behind her in whatever decision she makes. Even the mother's side of the family thinks she's fine.
She is 12 years old.
She's 12. She's not pregnant. Big and grown. She's not big and grown. She's tiny. She's vulnerable as all hell. She's terrified. She's in trouble. She's not fine. Even if she's alive, she's not fine.
No.
Nothing about this is fine.
She cannot drive. She's not old enough to drive.
No.
She's not. Nope. I mean,
she's not physically mature enough to naturally give birth to a baby. She's not fine. CJ said that he was convinced that Celina's mother's family had taken her to live with them and she was fine and being well cared for.
If I hear the word fine one more time.
I know. I'm going to find my way to put my fist in his face.
Yes.
His other theory was that other local people had a, quote, vendetta against the church, might have taken her to retaliate against them.
That's not something that happens.
No. Quote, they want to tear down this ministry. They want to use my daughter as a pawn. So where is she? Where's the pawn?
Seriously.
If they have her, where's the
Bring
big power play? There's no power play. They're not like, look what happened to this child. We're going to go to the authorities, go to the media. It never happened. She's just missing. Police backed this up by saying that they hadn't found any evidence of foul play, leaving out the fact that they never searched the home.
What?
Quote, never searched the home. Yeah, there's no evidence of foul play because there's no evidence.
Didn't look for it.
Period. Yeah.
How did they never search the home?
Quote, when police asked to inspect Celina's home on Crestview Drive, family members refused. Police sought a warrant, which was also denied. Quote,
why?
The family must be presumed to be the victim in this case, the judge ruled.
Why?
If there is an exploited, endangered 12-year-old in the mix, the family is not the victim. The family has done something wrong that needs to be explored. Something.
I mean, the fact, honestly, maybe it was, but like the fact that CPS wasn't called when you bring a 12-year-old child, 11-year-old child pregnant into the
media.
Clinic. Yeah. Like you call CPS, you check out that situation, you make sure she's okay.
Yep. Yes. And I talk a lot about the 90s and how little people were protected, especially women and girls, but this is such a good case. And also, Sadie, it didn't help it. Celina was black.
Oh, of course.
Yep.
God,
CJ...
just
I know.
please.
Yep. CJ said that Sarita determined how much of the home could be searched by police, but he was, quote, not pleased with the attitude that the police officers displayed. Quote, you had to be there to understand, he said. If I was a police officer investigating a missing pregnant 12-year-old, I would have a serious attitude too. I would arrest everybody. How's that for an attitude? You're all under arrest.
Seriously.
Sorry to cop a tude, guys, but you're coming with me. This is not cool at all.
Everybody, all of them.
Yep.
Just anybody you see.
Yep.
Yep.
So members of the congregation were very uncooperative, and it took almost a month to interview all of the people closest to Celina. Quote, normally families are breaking down our doors to find out what's new in the investigation. This family we had to ask to come in. Police also claimed that follow-up interview requests were often ignored. That's not normal.
No. No.
So while Celina's paternal side of the family were barely looking for her, publicly shaming her and being uncooperative with police, her uncle on her mother's side was doing everything in his power to make sure that CJ didn't get his hands on Celina's $50,000 inheritance in her absence, and was trying to put it into a trust that she could access when she was 19. He also asked for custody of her once she was found. So, on January 31st, 1998, 2 years after Celina went missing without a trace, Sarita Smith's 23-year-old son, Sean, was arrested for assaulting two girls who were 13 and 14 when their abuse began.
Not surprised to hear that. Terrible news.
Nope. One claimed that the abuse happened between 1992 to 1994, and the other victim from 1993 to 1995. So it was right around the time Celina moved into his home, and then she was 9 months pregnant when she went missing in 1996. Sean's entire family, including Celina's father, CJ Mays, supported Sean as he went to court to face the charges. Sean, of course, denied having anything to do with Celina's disappearance and pleaded innocent to his charges. The attorney representing the two girls who were accusing Smith of the abuse said, quote, I think there's a very strong possibility that Celina could have been the victim of the same kind of conduct my clients were exposed to. Celina's half-brother Robert agreed, saying, quote, Celina was pregnant. He's been arrested on sexual assault. There you go. That's been our suspicion all along. Finding an article on someone named Sean Smith from the 90s is damn near impossible, no matter how many keywords you put in. So I have no idea what the outcome was of his case. I'm assuming they probably dismissed the charges or settled or something because it was the 90s. But yeah, it's the piece of information that I feel is all anybody really needs to know. So Celina hasn't claimed her $50,000 inheritance to this day. And while there have been several reported sightings of her over the years, none of them have ever been confirmed. In 2021, the Willingboro Police Department said, quote, in 1996, we had limited resources to communicate with the public and inquire details regarding missing persons.
We had telephones and like TV cameras and TV and radio.
And, brains and bodies
paper,
to do stuff with.
Flyers. Yeah. Don't tell me we didn't know this. We didn't have like Pony Express only.
We had only had pigeons, carrier pigeons.
Oh my God.
Yep.
No, you fucked up. You just get up there and say we fucked up. We didn't do anything. We didn't look in the house where she was last seen.
Yeah. Well, so in 2021, social media has evolved greatly and can now reach a variety of people through many platforms. We are using social media to distribute information about Celina to raise awareness of her case. This isn't something that has just got pushed to the side. Maybe not now,
liar.
Guys. 25 years later. 25 years later.
Oh my God.
It's been
arrest him.
I know. It's been continually investigated, and whatever leads come up, we follow and go. And just nothing turns up of any evidentiary purposes to go farther. Sorry, that's a very awkward sentence, but basically they've never... Right. None of the leads have ever panned out. The Gospels of Christ Ministries Church has been abandoned for over a decade. And the remaining members of the Mays family moved out of the home Celina disappeared from in 2019. The Gospels of Ministry Church has been abandoned for over a decade, and the remaining members of the Mays family moved out of the home Celina disappeared from in 2019. CJ Mays also died in 2019. If Celina and her baby are still alive, she is 37 years old and her baby is 25. If anyone has any information that could help solve Celina's disappearance, please reach out to the Willingboro Police Department at 609-877-3001 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. And that, you guys, is the disturbing disappearance, the deeply disturbing disappearance of Celina Mays.
I hate that so much.
I know.
Can we go search the house now? Can we search
Yes.
the property on the
Yes.
house now?
Yes, we must. We must.
I mean,
Yeah.
she's got to be somewhere.
She's somewhere. She's, I don't think she's alive. I don't think
No,
she has been
no,
alive.
of course
because
not.
there would have been a sighting or something. Like if she had been kidnapped or she ran away or something, like somebody would have found her eventually. Quickly. They would have found her very quickly, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yep. That
No,
family
they
did
need-
something to that little baby.
I'm actually really surprised nobody talked. With that many people in the house,
No.
you know, they couldn't all just...
Yep.
I mean,
And maybe they did, you know? I mean, this just seems like one of the cases where nobody protected her. Nobody tried to actually find her. Nobody did any thorough investigation. You know, it was all over the media, but it was like more sensational than anything, you know, like 12-year-old pregnant girl headlines, you know, that sells newspapers, but like nobody was demanding that anything get done to actually find her or help her or hold anybody accountable for what had happened to her on any level. It's like, even if you weren't responsible for her disappearance or her getting pregnant, there, you know, like what is going on in this household? This needs to be investigated. There's other children in there. Celina has sisters. She has she had a 4-year-old sister living there, you know, like, and her little sisters still want to know what happened to her, obviously.
Of course.
Yep.
I hate it. I just...
Yep. And her half brother and her mother's side of the family, you know, everybody was like desperately trying to find her.
I can't imagine.
No, it's it's disgusting. So I obviously wanted to cover that case to get her little memory out there and see if I just, you know, long for something to come up so that her family can get justice for her. But
Seriously.
and so people know that Sarita Smith and Sean Smith are not good people. And as far as I can tell, they're still alive. Like I couldn't find any updates or photos or anything for them, but I think they're still alive and they're not good people. What's going on?
Let's
Can we
find
hold
them.
accountable?
Let's dig up the yard. Let's
Yep.
arrest the police.
Let's arrest the police. What do you guys think? What do you
What do you
think?
think? Thanks for watching.